Final predictions. Here in the finale, I think we're going to find out that Gali has been puppeteering Henry, and she's actually responsible for everything going on in Hawkins since the very beginning. If we look at the picture here that I dropped in, you can see that it's very foretelling of what's coming. In Hindu culture, this is when she takes the goddess shape, and she is standing over the male counterpart, which is Shiva. Notice the picture there. So I do think that ultimately there will be a restart, a re-cleansing of the planes. I also did a color theory based off of what the cast members wore to the final premiere, and I'm going to dive into that. Now, notice that Nancy and Karen Wheeler are wearing red. After Volume 2 came out, we saw how Karen was injured, and I do think in the finale, also Nance and Mike are going to be injured. The majority of the cast members at the premiere are wearing all black. It represents funerals, mourning, and so forth. This is why I claimed that Mike would be injured in attending a funeral in a wheelchair. We just saw an image of Nancy wearing all red, so I do think she's going to be hospitalized and taking out, not being able to really participate in the end games. If we take a look at what Joyce is wearing, she is wearing solid black, which represents deep mourning. Getting back to what I said about Mike and how he was injured, initially I did think it was Vecna. Now I kind of think that if Gali does invade others' minds here in the finale, she might play tricks on them, which means that it actually might be Elle or Will that accidentally hurts Mike. Some of the cast members are also wearing neutral colors. Dustin's wearing a neutral color, so I do think that that's going to depict him having to make the final decision on something really hard. And for me, I kind of think that he's going to end up making the last call on which one of our cast members that we lose in the finale, which ends up bringing me to my final prediction. As far as who stays and goes, I do think we're going to lose a couple people, but I only think one has to ultimately stay gone in order to re-cleanse and restart everything in a balanced form. I do think it's going to be between Hopper and Max. But ultimately, I do think that the person we're going to lose and has to stay gone is Max. Why do I think Max? Because she's the only one wearing all white. White represents new beginnings, wiping the slate clean, sacrifice, things of that nature. Gali is not only the goddess of destruction, but it's actually reconstruction, and she's also responsible for ego death. This explains why in the Volume 2 that we just saw, this explains the scene with Nancy and Jonathan in the Melton room, and also what happened between Dustin and Steve. Once they confessed their feelings, that was a true display of an ego death, and everything kind of transcended. Unfortunately, the only reason that we still have Max around is because Elle used her ego to bring her back to life. We also saw in Volume 2 how Max could feel Lucas even though she was in a different realm. This represents love in a transcendental way. So I do think ultimately, because of these nuances, I do think we're going to end up losing Max in the very finale. I also did predictions talking about what songs I think are going to be used, and I still stand by my decision with Ozzy. He had an album called Bark at the Moon. It was released November 1983, which is the timeline in which all of this started. I also think we're going to end up hearing some Pink Floyd from their album Dark of the Moon, and I'm going with Brain Damage for that. But let me know what you guys' theories are. Let me know if you think I'm onto something or I'm reaching. Happy New Year's, guys.